You have more power, wealth, and influence than anyone else on earth. Every pleasure, every indulgence, every dream is within reach. Would you have the discipline to resist it all? To live a life of simplicity, service, and self-control? This is exactly the choice Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, made, choosing virtue over vice, self-mastery over self-indulgence. And this choice isn't just a historical curiosity. It's a philosophy, a way of life that we call Stoicism. Today, we're going to explore how Stoicism, the ancient wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, can unlock a path to true happiness and peace in a world filled with endless distractions and temptations. Stay with me, because what you'll learn could change how you live, think, and even love. Marcus Aurelius wasn't just a philosopher. He was, at one point, the most powerful person in the known world. Yet he didn't live like it. While other emperors indulged in every whim, Marcus embraced a life of discipline, humility, and purpose. He dedicated himself to living in accordance with nature, not driven by wealth, status, or even his own desires, but by a duty to himself and others. For him, being a good man was not a title or an achievement. It was a relentless commitment to align his actions with his principles, no matter what temptations or struggles lay in his path. Imagine if we lived like that today. Imagine the kind of strength, calm, and purpose we could cultivate. One of Marcus's core beliefs was that we should focus only on what we can control: our actions, our reactions, our values. He understood that life would bring pain, loss, and challenges, but he believed that true power comes from mastering our response to these hardships, not by trying to avoid them. Instead of fearing pain or failure, Marcus feared only one thing: letting himself down. He knew he couldn't control the world, but he could control how he met each moment. And that was enough. Now think about your own life. How many times have you worried about things outside your control? What people think, the outcome of events, the approval of others? What if, like Marcus, you began to focus only on what you can control? Stoicism teaches us that our peace, happiness, and fulfillment lie within, not in the hands of others or in the outcome of events. Imagine how freeing that would be, to let go of what you can't control and focus instead on mastering yourself. At the heart of Marcus's Stoicism is the belief that our duty, as humans, is to fulfill our highest potential. A tree grows to its fullest height because that is its nature. A bird doesn't ask why it flies. It simply does because it was made to fly. In the same way, Marcus believed that each of us has a natural purpose, a potential we are here to fulfill, not for applause or approval, but because that's what we are made to do. For Marcus, the worst failure wasn't losing wealth or facing hardship. It was falling short of his potential, of not fully becoming the person he was meant to be. Marcus wrote down his thoughts in a personal journal, which we now know as Meditations. These weren't polished essays meant to impress readers. They were raw, honest reflections, never intended for anyone's eyes but his own. And yet, these writings reveal a powerful insight into the mind of a man constantly struggling, as we all do, with the challenges of life, of loss, of responsibility, and of temptation. Reading Meditations is like seeing Marcus, not as an emperor, but as a human being wrestling with the same questions and challenges we all face. And this honesty is what makes his insights timeless and relevant, even thousands of years later. A central idea in Marcus's Stoicism was to live in accordance with nature. But this didn't mean just enjoying the outdoors or respecting animals. For Marcus, nature was the entire order of the universe, a system in which every part has a purpose, and every event, even painful ones, has meaning. When a storm tears down a tree, it clears the way for new growth. When a predator hunts, it keeps the ecosystem balanced. For Marcus, hardships, pain, and loss were part of this same natural order, not to be avoided, but to be accepted and met with courage. So how does this apply to us today? Every setback, every moment of frustration, every loss, it's part of a larger order, a test of our resilience. Marcus believed that instead of wishing for an easy life, we should focus on building strength to endure a challenging one. When adversity strikes, instead of asking, "Why me?" he'd ask, "How will I meet this challenge?" This is a mindset shift that changes everything. Instead of avoiding pain, we learn to see it as a chance to grow, to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. When it came to dealing with difficult people, Marcus Aurelius had a perspective that's just as valuable today as it was in ancient Rome. He reminded himself daily that the world would always be filled with people who act out of ignorance, selfishness, or cruelty. He saw it as unrealistic to expect otherwise, as if asking roses to grow without thorns. So instead of judging or resenting these people, he looked inward, reminding himself that he too was imperfect, that he had his own flaws and blind spots. His response was not anger or resentment, but compassion, patience, and tolerance. This doesn't mean he accepted abuse or enabled harmful actions, but that he met others' flaws without letting them disturb his peace. Imagine if, instead of getting frustrated by people who cut us off in traffic, or by coworkers who take credit for our work, we approached these situations with the same calm acceptance. Imagine seeing them as part of life's landscape, as opportunities to practice patience, resilience, and inner peace. This isn't just about making life easier. It's about cultivating a mindset that cannot be rattled, that finds peace even in difficult situations. Marcus also reflected often on the topic of wealth and material possessions. Despite having access to unimaginable luxury, he saw material wealth as fleeting and ultimately meaningless. He understood that no amount of wealth could bring true fulfillment. In his writings, he reminded himself to appreciate what he had but never to cling to it. For Marcus, the value of material things wasn't in possessing them, but in being able to let them go. Imagine the power of this mindset in our consumer-driven world, where so much of our happiness is tied to what we own, to accumulating more and more. Stoicism teaches us that true wealth isn't in what we have, but in how little we need. Perhaps one of the most poignant lessons Marcus Aurelius left us was his perspective on death. While many of us avoid thinking about mortality, Marcus encouraged himself to reflect on it regularly. He saw death not as something to fear, but as a natural part of life, a duty just like living. For him, remembering death wasn't morbid. It was a reminder to live fully, to appreciate each moment, and to act with purpose and integrity. Death, he believed, gives life its meaning, its urgency. If we were here forever, there would be no reason to act with courage or integrity. But knowing that our time is limited pushes us to be the best versions of ourselves while we can. Finally, at the core of Stoicism is the idea that happiness doesn't come from external pleasures, but from living a life of virtue. Pleasure is fleeting, always dependent on external factors, while true happiness comes from within. Marcus knew that no title, wealth, or achievement could bring lasting happiness. Instead, it's about living in alignment with our values, continuing to grow, and fulfilling our potential. Happiness, in Stoicism, is about self-mastery and self-respect, about knowing we're living up to the best within us. In the end, Stoicism isn't about denying pleasure or suppressing emotions. It's about finding a deeper, more resilient form of happiness. It's about building a life that's strong enough to handle whatever challenges come our way. And the legacy of Marcus Aurelius reminds us that true greatness isn't in what we have or what we achieve. It's in how we face each day, each challenge, and each interaction with a calm, steady strength. If you're ready to start applying Stoicism to your own life, to live with more strength, peace, and purpose, then this journey is just beginning. Subscribe to this channel where we explore the wisdom of the Stoics every week, diving into practical ways to build a life of true fulfillment and resilience. Thank you for joining me on this path, and let's continue learning from the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius and the Stoics as we unlock the potential for greatness within each of us. See you in the next video.